genUm. Keanu Reeves stars. Mark Mann is the writer-director, and it's rated R. Gee, Tim, I think you should lead on this. You'll find out why in a moment.
Everybody on the planet hates this movie except for me and Keanu Reeves, who is the star of this film.
Have you talked to Keanu?
He seems to like it as he's in it. I like this movie. I think it's fascinating. It's a very small little film made with digital cameras set in New York. This film is about a middle-aged guy who has failed unspectacularly. He's simply eased into failure, right? And he's starting to feel the weight of this failure. He's living on the fringe in New York. He's surrounded by all these very, very young people, including these two young women that he seems to be working with, and his young cousin, not nephew, but cousin, who's a goofball who's living with him in this ramshackle apartment, and everybody else. And he's just wandering around, getting these phone calls on his birthday from his mother, which are just reminding him what a failure he actually is. And he's overwhelmed by this. It's very poetic. There's a moment when he steals this
blank verse.
Blank verse. In a certain sort of way.
Blank everything.
There's a moment when he steals this camera. And the rest of the film is kind of told more or less from the camera's point of view. He starts just going around filming things and people telling him things to the camera. I thought it was just all fascinating and a very intense little look at the way we sort of fritter away our lives and don't know it.
You are going to love my summer vacation home movies. Because this to me was somebody showing me their home movies unedited, and at least in home movies of a trip, you start at point A and you get to point B. I thought this was so awful and unreleasable, so dull. The characters are not likable or identifiable in any way, or I didn't find them so. I also couldn't even exactly follow, wait, are we having a flashback here, or is this the next night? And what that relationship was. Maybe it was deliberately that it was supposed to be a payoff late in the film where we find out
that
really the heart of their relationship.
What he's actually doing with those young girls. Yeah.
But and they're not that young. They're within his, 25,
26 years old, I think, something like that.
But I have rarely been so bored. I was having trouble keeping the eyelids up.
Fascinated. Did you not see the juxtaposition between his stage in life and the young people who he's dealing with, who are all just like him, except that they haven't failed yet? They have all kinds of choices to make that will lead them in another direction. He can see this. He can see that I'm living just like them, but I'm done. I think it's just fascinating.
I think you credit these characters with way more intelligence than they deserve.
Oh, it's Keanu. He's got to be smart.
Well, hey, I love Keanu, and he probably is a smart guy. But this, I just thought this was characters to the extent that I understood them, I hated them. But mostly they bored me. And they bored me so much that I actually was angry at the end of the film because I didn't think it should have been released.
I will say this, because I said that the only two people on the planet who liked it are me and Keanu. That's not actually true. I've noticed that everyone that I know who's over 40 hates it. Everyone that I know who's under 30 loves it.
genUm is the film Mark Mann wrote and directed. Keanu Reeves stars, and it's rated R.